Welcome to Under the Hood, presented by WholesaleCars.com, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on what really makes this buy here, pay here dealership tick. Here in Albertville, Alabama, WholesaleCars.com has been in the same spot since 1994, built on honesty, integrity, and excellence. And around here, the people are just as important as the cars. In each episode, you'll hear from industry professionals and the folks who make this place run, sharing real experiences from behind the counter, behind the scenes, and sometimes behind schedule. The goal? Transparency, a little humor, and a closer look at why this team does things differently. This is Under the Hood. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Under the Hood podcast, and as you can tell, I'm not Paul Clavern. I'm filling in for him today. He had something coming up. My name is Taylor McMurtry from Broadside Marketing and Branding, and joined with Collections Manager. That the title, right?
Yes.
Lacey Freeman, and our special guest, Jalen Brooks of Big Insurance Group here in Albertville with Alpha, right?
Right, that's right, Alpha.
That's right. So today, interesting episode. I hate that Paul couldn't be here because he had some stuff he wanted to cover, but this is, for lack of a better term, and to not infringe on anybody's copyright, but maybe a Smith's Buster episode, because we're going to talk about insurance and the buy here, pay here world, the rebuilt title world. There's a lot of myths, a lot of things that are floating around out there, and that quite frankly are just not true, or there's some caveats or some loopholes, or there's some things that are just kind of half-truths or missing and that sort of stuff. And so we invited Jalen, and he graciously accepted our invitation just to come and hang out with us for a little bit, and we're just going to ask him all the tough insurance questions because he is the end-all, be-all of insurance, right, Jalen?
That could not be further from the truth. I got roped into it, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, man. So I guess first up, let's just kind of get a quick intro for you. I mean, obviously I've known you for a long time, and you guys listening to this don't know that history, but Jalen, just kind of give our listeners kind of an intro on you and how you got into the insurance game to begin with.
Okay, so 2018 was in the fire and water damage restoration business. So was going in houses, knocking out drywall. Somebody's kitchen would flood or their house catch on fire, and we would go in and do the repair and the reconstruction process after that. Through that, our network was insurance agents and insurance companies, insurance adjusters. So I was just networking with a lot of insurance professionals. Never had any intention of going into the insurance business, but through a process of 5 years through that, and then there were, and I won't go into all the detail, but there were two claim situations after house fires that was obvious that these people were underinsured. They had no idea. To be honest, it was on the agent that they were underinsured, and so that combined with some of the other things I saw in the industry, there was a gap in the insurance agent side of things. Of people need somebody that's their advocate, that's not just looking to collect a paycheck, and so I jumped in the insurance game. Alpha Insurance had an opening. Literally the day that I had decided, like, I'm going into insurance. I want to look at Alpha. I'd love to go sell for them. The day I decided that, Alpha had an opening come up for an agent position in my hometown. It's like, that's all I need to know right there. So signed up for it, and then, the rest is history. I've been with Alpha now going on almost 4 years, and then opened up my own agency almost 2 years ago, and so right here in Albertville still.
Yeah, and so one important distinction is that you are an independent agent, right? So
that's right.
So that means these are your employees and your payroll. You keep the lights on. Nobody's coming to save you, so to speak. So yeah. That's an important distinction. It's not just that you work for or are employed by Alpha, but this is who you choose to sell for, and it's a big deal.
That's right. Yeah, independent agent means several different things in the industry depending on who you talk to, but we are what you call independent exclusive. So that means that, yes, I'm independent. My employees are mine. It is up to me whether I sink or swim. If nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to keep the doors open and the lights on. But the exclusive aspect of that is I am still Alpha. My contract states that I sell Alpha, and then all of our 150 plus affiliates that we can also sell. But I only have that channel of what they allow us to do. Yeah. So I'm not one of these independents that can go out here and, find the best deal or whatever. I mean, we can, but it's a little bit different from some of these independent brokerages that you say.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to say that out of all the companies, you kind of chose to put your name.
That's right.
With Alpha.
That's exactly right.
So when you could have done other things. So, anyways, well, that's good to know. I mean, and obviously, me and Jalen go way back, back to the Life Point Church in Albertville and student ministry and all that fun stuff. But so it's cool to kind of just see from the outside looking in how you have kind of not just grown up, but just business wise, like pretty neat to have watched, and so.
Likewise. Broadside over here.
Hey, man, here we go. Yeah, man, just glad you're here, and we're going to throw a few questions at you here. And again, there's no real pressure. It's just we are taking some of these clips from the podcast, and we've been throwing them out, on social and getting people's feedback, and even running a few ads with them. And one in particular comment that really just sort of like, I'm going to monitor this stuff like crazy. I can't help it. If I made it, or if this came out of my doings, I want to know what people think about it, and or whatever, and see what the response is. And so someone commented on one of the videos that we'd put out and said, it was something to the effect of good luck with that. Buy a car there and you'll never get insurance. Nobody will ever cover, because this is, if you're not familiar, wholesalecars.com is a buy here, pay here dealership, I guess what you'd call it. And so there's a lot of some negative that come along with that, and rightfully so in some respects. But the model here is so much different than anywhere else I have ever been. You guys really, Paul, if he was here, he calls it radical transparency. You guys really hang your hat on being upfront, being honest with the customer, showing them pictures. Here is what was damaged with this vehicle.
About everything.
Yeah, about everything. And here's what we have done to repair it. And we're not trying to hide anything from you. You know exactly what you're buying. And so I just think it's a really cool deal. But like I said, there are some insurance, sticking points with people. So can you just kind of shed some light on that? This first question here, what's the biggest misconception people have about insuring maybe a rebuilt title or a salvage title?
Yeah, so I actually didn't know. This is something I'm going to throw to you here in a second and explain y'all's process a little bit, because I had heard, that wholesale cars, every car that comes out of here has a rebuilt title or whatever. I don't know what the truth is to that, but I'll let you explain. But when it comes to cars with rebuilt titles, that's a question I get almost weekly. Actually, I'll have somebody that's a current client of mine. They'll go, they're thinking of buying a vehicle, or they'll go buy a vehicle, and then come to find out it has a rebuilt title when they go look at it. Pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, and I don't know where that comes from. Only thing I can think of is maybe somebody's had an experience in the past where the insurance carrier that they use doesn't insure rebuilt titles for whatever reason. I know there's some out there that don't. In my experience, it's far and few between. I'm not going to name names of those who don't, but there are some carriers who will flat out tell you that they don't insure them. But the vast majority of insurance carriers, let me say it this way: there is not, like I said, we have 150 plus carriers that we can write through, right? Besides Alpha, there are 5 primary carriers when it comes to auto insurance. If somebody called me today and said, hey, I want a quote on auto insurance, Alpha's going to be first. And then there are 4 others outside of that if Alpha doesn't fit their needs for whatever reason, we'll go outside and shop those 4 others out. Not a single one of them, unless it's changed in the 5-minute drive over here, not a single one of them ask a question about whether the title is rebuilt or not. Not a single one of them even go run that report to see whether it is. They don't care. Really? They could not care less. So, not only not only can you find insurance on rebuilt title vehicles, it's not even like there's a rate increase or a higher. No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, nowhere in our system does it show anything that has to do with the title itself. The only questions that we get asked is, do you have the title, or does the bank that you're financed with have the title? As long as it's titled in your name, you can get insurance on it. And these 5 carriers are not like, mom and pop shop insurance companies you never heard of. These are
National
top 5,
brands.
top 10 in market share in the country.
Right.
So
okay. Cool.
So, and going from there, throw it to Lacey real quick.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are some of the things? First of all, what's y'all's process? Because is every car here a rebuilt? Does every car have a rebuilt title here?
I would say 99%. Every once in a while, we'll have one that is not a rebuilt title, but most of them are.
Okay.
Yeah, and and Paul's talked about that on previous episodes, but so I hate that I'm kind of speaking for him, but basically he's like, it's my job to go and seek out these vehicles with an extremely low level of damage and buy those vehicles. It's like, he said there's hidden, silent killers where you may get a car from, the East Coast. Like, well, why would that be bad? Because of salt, like the undercarriage is just like rusted out because of all the salt that's put on the roads. And it's like, you don't want to go that route. So we don't sell those cars. And so he just said,
those. I don't think we do anything flood. I mean, because it messes up stuff electronically. Right.
So it's just, and we'll get to some of this stuff here in a second, kind of leads into some other questions, but he's just like, we really want to go after those vehicles that have a very low level of damage, bumpers and, airbag deployment, just things like that an insurance company has deemed totaled, or something like that has to be, title has to be rebuilt. And a lot of times, like the overwhelming majority, people end up getting a great vehicle for, a third, half the price or whatever, and low mileage too. He's mentioned before on here that their average mileage on vehicles they sell here is around 60,000-ish, 65,000 miles. Like if you go to another buy here, pay here, anywhere or in this area, their average is about 120. So if you start your financing journey at 120, by the time you get it paid off in 3 years, 4 years, whatever,
it may not be running.
It may be, it may have already,
ran its course.
So anyway, it's very, like I said, I was very naive and started working with Paul and just kind of picking his brain and asking him questions, and it's pretty interesting to see the system that you guys have kind of put in place here. So it's pretty cool.
Well, one thing people think of when they hear that a vehicle's been salvaged or if it's been rebuilt, they think that it's been crushed,
right,
and then put back together, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Vandalism. If the vehicles,
Excuse me.
He sounds like the Predator over there.
Do what?
I could hear him. It's like a burp or something.
Hope you can cut that out.
If a vehicle's stolen,
yeah,
and the insurance company pays it off and it's redeemed at a later date, or if they find it at a later date, it's going to have a rebuilt title because the insurance company's paid it off.
Yep.
It's going to have a brand new title.
Right.
Even though there may be absolutely no damage to it.
Cool. Yeah, just I guess kind of moving on down our list here. Second question, can rebuilt title cars actually get full coverage insurance, or are buyers limited to liability only? Is there any limitations to that?
No. If you can get coverage, you can get coverage. So, put it simply, if you can get liability on it, you can get full coverage on it.
So there you go. Whoever's guy that commented on your video, you don't know what you're talking about.
Like I said, there's some carriers who are not going to take it at all, and maybe it's because an insurance company has paid out on it already. So, if it's been rebuilt, who's it been rebuilt by? What's the quality of that vehicle? Some things that go through my head on why a carrier may not want to is, if it's, especially if it's had it's one thing if it's a bumper. If it's, steering components and suspension work and there's some safety features that may be hindered because of that, I can understand if an insurance company doesn't want to insure that from a liability standpoint. You're risking other people on the road, you're risking the driver of that vehicle. But again, as far as the main carriers that we deal with, we don't have one that even asks about it. So if you can get liability coverage on it with us, you can get full coverage as well. There's no limitation on that.
No, that's good to know, because I don't know. Since I've been working with wholesale cars and just been, trying to do this kind of stuff and get the media presence out there and those sort of things, I've been sort of like going down a little mental list in my head of like, okay, so why aren't more people doing this? Well, it must be an insurance problem. Well, okay, well, that got shot down. Well, it must be whatever. There must be some barrier that keeps people from doing it, and I'm starting to kind of run out of things to to throw out there.
That's a great point. I think that maybe, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the guy that commented that about not being able to get insurance on it, he's probably in the same shoes you were. Of like, you got wholesale cars over here that's selling cars far cheaper than the competition, and same with me. When I heard that it's all rebuilt title cars, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. But if you can get a car, 20,000 miles on it for 20% of the cost, I don't know. I'm not speaking for y'all, but 20% of the cost of what somebody else may be, 15% of the cost. As you go down the list and you think about why you wouldn't do that, just cross out each one of those one of those bullet points.
I'm just starting to, go down the list. I'm like, man, I just don't know.
We have a lot of really nice vehicles.
Mm.
One that's really nice that we've gotten recently is a 2025 Chevrolet Traverse with less than 6,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to go, 25% below retail probably when it sells. I mean, who knows? I'm not speaking for that, but
you want to send me the info on that? I'm serious. I have a client that's looking for a Traverse right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, their vehicle just got totaled because it got stolen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it got stolen. The insurance company
There you
told
go,
us
Lacey.
they're looking for a 25 or 26 Traverse.
Absolutely.
Commish, baby, out there.
It's black on black.
See, aren't you glad you were in here, Lacey?
Absolutely.
Like, it's made to sell.
Let's sell a car.
Exactly. Oh, that's funny. I know you touched on this a minute ago, Jalen, but I was just see if there's anything we may have left out. What factors do insurance companies look at when deciding rates for rebuilt title vehicles? Is there no difference at all? Like you said, hey, there's no rate increase, but what factors? Just is the title in your name and that's it?
Yeah, so let's expand on that a little bit because it'll give the whole picture. So I don't, again, as far as I'm aware, some other agent's going to watch this and then absolutely blow me up in my messages, tell me how dumb I am because I don't know what I'm talking about. But as far as I know, and as far as our system shows, there is no difference between whether something's a clean title or a rebuilt title.
Okay.
Rate-wise, what we're looking at, this is a common misconception just in insurance, period. A lot of people call me and say, hey, I'm looking at buying this car, or somebody's looking for a quote and they're like, I drive a red vehicle, or I drive, this type of car or whatever. If there's one thing to take away for as far as insurance rates go, insurance rates have more to do with you as a person now rather than the vehicle you're driving. The vehicle you're driving does play a part, but everybody wants to know why my rate is what it is, whether it's low, high, whatever. The first thing I'm looking at is you as a driver. How many tickets do you have? How old are you? What area do you live in? What are those demographics? Because we're such a data-driven society now. There's so much data out there that you can just pull with a simple report that insurance companies have now figured out, much like how life insurance works. Insurance companies now have figured out, I'm going to look at your demographics as a person and compare that to the demographics of everybody else out there in those certain categories.
Okay.
And that's going to determine your rate more so than anything else. Now, if you throw in there, I tell people all the time, Nissans, particularly Nissan Altimas and Maximas, good luck. I hope you like paying for insurance. Doesn't matter if it's rebuilt title or a clean title. Those every 16-year-old girl gets a Nissan Maxima or Altima. And so when we're looking at demographics, Nissan Altimas and Maximas are skewed so much because there are so many young drivers that drive those vehicles that when you go look at the data, my gosh, Nissan Maximas and Altimas for some reason are in accidents all the time. It's because young drivers drive them. So no matter how old you are, if you drive one of those, you're going to pay a little bit more for insurance. And then there's some other variations in that depending on the vehicles you drive. But most of the time, it's about you as the person. And there is no different. If you've got a clean title 2025 Nissan Maxima, you're going to be paying the same as if you take your same demographics on you as a person and you apply that to a rebuilt title 2025 Nissan Maxima, it's going to be the same. Cost for cost is the exact same.
That's so funny though. Like there's the Jeep people that probably have a rate, and then there's the
those are awful too. Yeah, those are awful too.
That's funny.
I love Jeeps, man, but the insurance is real high on those.
Yeah, and like I would love to know. Like, I mean, not that you probably wouldn't know this, but I'm saying like you're saying now we're so data driven. What are the the red flags for like if a truck has a greater than a 4-inch lift on it, does that like pop? You know what I mean? It's like,
it used to, not anymore. I think it was greater than 6-inch lift. Used to be a question that was asked. Does this have 6-inch lift kit or more on it? If it was
certain size tires, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten less. Again, it's gotten less about the vehicle. The more time goes on. Also with that, and this kind of goes back to this rebuilt title thing. As time goes on, cars are getting safer and safer and safer and safer, whether that be when you're in an accident, the airbags that deploy are keeping you alive much better than 10, 20 years ago. The preventive safety features on it, when you're driving and it sees something jump out in front of you and it stops for you. The type of seatbelts, and then there's the safety requirements that the government puts on that continue to get more strict and more strict because we want to have safer vehicles. So as time goes on, it increasingly gets more about the person driving as opposed to the vehicle that they're driving. So I would expect that even the companies that do have a problem with rebuilt titles right now, as time goes on, that's probably going to become less and less of a factor because it's going to lean more towards who are you as a driver versus the vehicle that you're driving. Yeah,
which I mean I think is a good thing. I mean, looking at someone's character or their track record is more important, really. And at the end of the day, insurance it's risk management. You are like, how much of a risk am I taking by insuring this person? I've always thought it was crazy. You mentioned like a red vehicle or something like that. I've always thought it was absurd. Okay, so I have a red vehicle, so I have to pay a higher rate, or something.
That's not true.
I was about to say, like, hopefully that's just a myth.
I've always heard that.
Yeah,
I have to. It's not true. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not trying to distract you.
No,
but
that's what I'm getting at, and like the stats would show that out of a lineup of vehicles, color-wise, police officers would pull over a red car or a red vehicle versus virtually any other color. It's like, so I think it's good that you're trending in the area of just merit and track record.
Yeah, and to that point, that's where that myth comes from. So the reason people say if you drive a red vehicle, it's going to be higher on insurance. We don't care. We don't care what color your car is. It doesn't matter.
Hey, he said it live.
I'm serious. This one I can say without a doubt. The color of your car does not matter when it comes to insurance. The only places it matters is, a white vehicle is typically cheaper than a red or black or the other colors because white is cheaper to produce for the manufacturer. So the only place that comes into play is if you're looking at a red vehicle versus a white vehicle on an insurance payout. The red vehicle may cost ever so slightly more on a payout than a white one. But I mean, even now that's really not, it's so marginal. It's doesn't really matter.
Non-factor, yeah.
But where that comes from is, again, talking about the data on you as an individual. If you drive a red vehicle, you're probably more likely to get speeding tickets. So if you're driving a white car versus a red car, and you drive 15 miles an hour over the speed limit consistently, if you're in a white car, you probably have a greater chance of getting away with it. Whereas if you're in a red car, cops see you so much easier. We don't care whether cops see you easier or not. We care about how many tickets you have on your record.
Yeah.
So if cops are seeing you more and you have twice as many tickets on your record than the guy in the white car, then it is going to cost more. But but again, that's going back to you as a driver. You've got more tickets on your driving record. So it's a total myth.
Yep. Well, that's good to know. It won't stop me from buying my next vehicle. I don't care what color it is. Let's see. Number 4, are rebuilt title vehicles always more expensive to insure, or does it depend on the vehicle and the driver? You said it was basically more driver oriented rather than
100%.
All right. We can kind of move on there. I think we covered that one. For customers shopping at a buy here, pay here dealership, what should they know before calling for insurance quotes? Is there anything that they need to be mindful of, or does it even matter at all?
It's a great question. I mean, it's not going to be any different than buying any. Again, this is going to be the same common theme throughout this whole thing, no matter what question you ask. You should not do anything different than what you would do on a clean title vehicle.
Yeah.
Period. So, let me say the one thing that all of us insurance agents wish that people would do when buying a vehicle. Period. Get a quote first before you sign that paperwork. I promise these people do not care whether you take 5 minutes to get a quote first. It helps them out, because if we can be proactive and make it work and find a company that will insure it for the price that fits within your budget, then it makes the deal happen on your end.
Absolutely.
So just get a quote first. I had a guy call. This was about 4 months ago. Had a guy call. He said, "Hey, I just bought my wife a vehicle," and it was some kind of BMW. I'm not a BMW guy, but it was some kind of BMW, and it was red. But some kind of BMW that he had bought his wife. He was expecting the rate increase on that for adding that to his policy to be pretty much average, or ever so slightly above average, which, depending on who you are, is about $100 to $160 a month to add a vehicle to your policy, depending on what the vehicle was. This was not a brand new one. This was like a 2018, 2019 BMW, whatever, and it added $450 a month to his policy, and he had already bought it. Oof. So then he had to figure out how to get rid of it, how not to be underwater on it, and so it just created a hard situation for him all the way around. So the only thing I can really say is make sure you're picking a great vehicle, make sure you're working with wholesale cars, and then get a quote first.
Get a quote first. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And, Lacey, do you want to, jump in on that? I know he said, hey, they're not going to care if you take 5 minutes to just make sure.
We've had customers that, because that's one thing that takes the longest as far as doing a deal up here with us. Mm-hmm. We don't like for a customer to leave without proof of insurance. Mm-hmm. So they do call around. They get quotes from different places, and they get, what's cheapest for them. But no, however long it takes them, we'd like for them to have full coverage insurance when they leave.
Gotcha.
Get a quote first.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I know one question I was going to ask you, and I'm not asking you to speak for all insurance companies, but maybe just for the ones that you represent. Is there any problem, or has there any sticking points when it comes to a wreck? Do the claims process and how that goes, is that harder to get to process a claim stuff on something that has a rebuilt title, or the same process, nothing's changed, nothing's any different, or just for you personally? So
that's a great question. And that's where you're going to see the biggest difference come in between a clean title and a rebuilt title, is what happens on a claim. Mm-hmm. And in the grand scheme of things, the same thing happens whether it's a clean title or a rebuilt title. But what I mean by that is, if you have a clean title and the car is worth $40,000 with whatever mileage is on it, the way car insurance works, if you have full coverage, let's say you have full, and when I say full coverage, it's comprehensive and collision. Mm-hmm. And let's say you have an accident out on the road and the insurance is going to pay out on it. What they're going to pay out is the value of the car at the time of the accident, before the accident happened, the value of that car minus your deductible. So if your deductible is $500 and that car is worth $40,000, they're going to pay you $39,500 for that vehicle. That's how it's supposed to work. There's, where do they come up with that value? Well, every company's different on that, and I can't speak to that because I'm not an adjuster. But they're going to look at things like Kelley Blue Book. They're going to look at things like the Black Book of what wholesale value is. They're going to look at NADA. They're going to look at Car Gurus to see what comps are in that area. And again, every company handles that differently. But the idea of insurance in general is you are supposed to get the full value of that car minus your deductible. Well, the value of a clean title car versus a rebuilt title car may be different, which is also why you pay less for it with wholesale cars.
Right.
So you're paying less for it on the front end, therefore you're going to get less for it on the back end as well.
Right.
You're going to get the full value of that car for a rebuilt title. Yeah. So the comparison there is, you don't want people to expect to get insurance on it. Yes, you told me that I could get insurance on a rebuilt title car. Yes, you told me it doesn't cost more per month to insure it. Don't let that fool you into thinking that you're going to get full payout for that car as if it had a clean title. There is going to be a depreciated payout based on what that car is worth at that point in time. But guess what? You're paying a depreciated retail price for it from wholesale cars at the time you purchase it as well.
Right. That makes sense.
That's a good way to look at it too.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I think what people just most sensible people want to know is, am I getting what's fair? And that's fair. You know what I mean? I paid less for this vehicle because of, it being damaged and having to be repaired and, that sort of thing. So the fair thing would be to get the value of what that vehicle is right before the accident. You know what I mean? Right. So whether it's clean or not. But
it could be, I just want to, accurately prepare people for that. It could mean that it is a slightly more of a process to prove that value. The insurance companies have the information, okay? And depending on I preach this all the time, the carrier you're with matters, the agent you're with matters. It depends on what carrier you're with. There are a lot of carriers out there right now that are trying to save every penny they can. Surprise, surprise. The insurance company's trying to take money from you. But there are carriers who care a lot more about their customers than others. And so the thing with rebuilt title cars is it could be that you may have to jump through a couple more hoops as you as an individual to prove the value of that car to the insurance company, because they may come to you and lowball you and say, hey, it's rebuilt title, I'm going to lowball you on it. The only thing I'd say on that is you don't have to take the first offer. Yeah. If the insurance company tells you they're going to pay you $30,000 for a car that is accurately worth $40,000, you do not have to accept that at first shot. The thing I would tell you is, again, call Wholesale Cars. They have the same data that the insurance companies have. They have the same analytics that the insurance carrier is looking at. So they can tell you what that car is accurately worth on the retail side as well. So you could call Wholesale Cars and say, if you had a claim on one and you are having to jump through those hoops a little bit, the only hoop you would have to jump through is call Wholesale Cars and say, hey, this is the mileage my car had on it at the time of accident. It did have a rebuilt title. Here's all the info on it. What was that worth at that time of the accident? What could I reasonably expect to buy that car for in this market? And I'm sure they don't care to go pull comps for you from the comps that they have. We do it all the time. And be able to show the insurance adjuster, here's 3 or 4 comps that I have on the exact same car with a rebuilt title, and it's telling me it's worth $40,000. That's what I expect to get. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Paul has said it on here before, like their model, whether that be selling the car or taking care of the customer after the fact, like the customer has to win and we have to win. That is our model. Like if both parties don't win, then this thing doesn't work. I mean, I think that's why they've been here for 40 years, which is unbelievable.
And we want to be involved in claims as well.
Yeah.
Because like he was saying, Paul has been in business for so long and he is really good as far as numbers go. As far as claims go, given the evaluation, his evaluation, and what insurance companies pay out is normally spot on. It's normally an average between 25 to 30% of the value of the vehicle, the market value of the vehicle is what we get.
Yeah, I've heard him say on here before, it's like a game we play.
Yeah.
We get a claim, and we'll go, almost like playing The Price is Right. Like you're trying to get that most accurate bid, you know what I mean? Whatever. And he's like, tell me how close I am. Am I close? And he's like,
I'm pretty close every time.
Spot on,
Absolutely.
So that's funny, too. I guess just, Jalen, with knowing what you know on the insurance side, what would you say to somebody who's, I don't know, maybe either like on the fence or considering maybe, buying a vehicle, not necessarily just from here, but just a vehicle that's rebuilt with a rebuilt title. Do you see any risk involved in that? Is there like, as far as just like from the insurance side of things, like would you advise people, hey, like just stay away from there, or like, no, man, it's probably a good way for you to get a extremely valuable or best bang for your buck or something like that when you're vehicle shopping?
For me personally, I would say I'm not buying a rebuilt title car from an individual. I don't have any data on it. I don't know where they got it from. More than likely, they're not going to have pictures from before the accident, and even if they do, I still don't know where they got it repaired. If it is a reputable dealership, obviously we're on this podcast with wholesale cars, but I'll just say if it's a reputable dealership that has good reviews, that several people who have used it, or you can find that information out on what people's real experience of it is, and it's a positive experience. From the insurance perspective, I would have no hesitation about it at all. If I was looking for a 2025 Traverse with 9,000 miles on it right now,
I think it's less than 6,000 is what it's
less than 6,000 miles on it, I would consider buying one with a rebuilt title, just because, you get that savings out the gate. The car's already taken a hit on depreciation. You're not going to go buy a, whatever those cars cost now, $60,000, $65,000 car that's going to lose 10, 15 grand in the first year that you drive it off the lot. You're buying a car that's already taken the depreciation hit. Yes, it has a rebuilt title, but you're not paying for clean title. You're paying for a lower cost vehicle. And then on the insurance side, it's no different. So I wouldn't have any hesitation about it. And one point we were talking about before this started that I think is important to put out there is, Lacey, you started talking about it. Everybody thinks that it was hit by a train. If it was, if it has a rebuilt title, everybody thinks that it's got a structural damage. All the airbags have deployed, all the windows have been crushed out, and it looks like a tin can been watered up.
Right.
That's not the case.
No.
The only thing a rebuilt title means is that the insurance company has totaled out the car. Well, they could do that for a variety of reasons. Heads up, insurance companies, just like anybody else in business, makes a business decision at the time that they have to make that decision. And sometimes it is better for them from a liability standpoint to total out a car that only has $4,000 worth of repairs needed to it. They would rather pay, $20,000, $30,000 to their customer to total out their car than to have to deal with the potential liability of paying the $4,000 to repair it and then the insurance company being on the hook for it. We can go into those details, but, we were looking at pictures before this started.
Yep.
A perfectly good Nissan Murano that had, was it 3 or 4 airbags had deployed?
I think it was the knee bag, the curtain, the curtain bag, and the
steering wheel.
The steering wheel.
Yeah. So
I came in the middle of y'all looking at it.
So I think it was 3 or 4 airbags.
Yeah.
Is what had deployed, and there was nothing else wrong with it. Paul said it was $4,000 of repairs, and it is just as good as a brand new Murano. So as long as it's being repaired by somebody that's reputable and repaired correctly, then I'd have no hesitation buying that car. And so vehicles can be totaled out for a variety of reasons, and a lot of them are dumb.
Well, honestly, like I've said this 3 or 4 times now just on this episode, but starting to get involved in what is going on here and asking questions and stuff, what keeps coming up is like, they totaled that car for that? They it needed a bumper. That's it. Or it needed a rear bumper, a front bumper. It needed a fender. It needed, it's like, it's not always the frame that's like you said, mangled, or whatever. And so, I mean, you may not be able to speak to all this, but could you just kind of walk us through some of these? You said, hey, there's a lot of reasons. Just a couple reasons why, if something needs a bumper, insurance companies would rather go, hey, let's just total this thing out.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I can't get inside the head of an adjuster sometimes. There's other reasons behind some of these that they're looking at a grand picture of risk management. Mm-hmm. That's all they're looking at is risk management. They are not looking at – everybody has this misconception of, the vehicle was valued at $30,000, and so for it to be totaled out, it needs to be $25,000 or more in repairs. Mm-hmm. Actually, most of the time that's not the case. I mean, yes, if that happens,
sure.
Yes, it will be. And that's the easiest way for us to explain how a claim works a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But the vast majority of claims that are total losses are not that way. I was alluding to the people that had their vehicle stolen. Their car was stolen out of a parking lot of a school. It was a Kia, and for whatever reason, Kias are easy to steal right now if they're between a certain year model. And these guys stole the Kia, drove it out of the parking lot only about 100 yards, and run the car into the ditch. Airbags did not deploy. Rear bumper was damaged. Very well could have easily been fixed. Matter of fact, I'm sitting here thinking maybe I should send this to Paul. But very easily could have been fixed, but because of some liability risks in that with the insurance company, they total that out. That will be a vehicle that one of these dealerships like Wholesale Cars is going to pick up and sell on the lot that I would have no hesitation to go purchase because I saw the pictures of the damage. And, other things are sticking with the theme of somebody stealing a vehicle. Somebody steals a car and they can't recover it in a certain amount of time. Somebody steals it and they're a very good thief and they go hide it and it can't be recovered in a certain amount of time. That car is going to get totaled out, even if they don't. I mean, it might not have a scratch on it. It may have been parked under a cover for all we know, and that's why they couldn't find it. But the insurance company paid that customer out because they couldn't find the vehicle, and theft is something that is covered. So they pay the full value of that car out so they can go buy them a new car, and then 4 to 6 months later, that car gets recovered by police. The insurance company's already paid out on that, so that car is now totaled, and it's going to have a rebuilt title, even though there's literally no damage on it.
Wow, that's a wild scenario. I don't know if I've ever even thought of that one before.
That's a score right there.
Yeah. That's the one Paul parks in his driveway. No, that's there's a variety of things of reasons why things get totaled out, and then they get that rebuilt title put on there.
Well, and I think something unique about here specifically is Paul's mentioned is that when you're buying a vehicle here, number one, every one of them has a warranty, which is unheard of, really. But every car that comes off this lot is purchased has a warranty. And if things need to be prepared, like they have a service department. So like you were saying, I don't know if I'd buy one off of an individual because I don't know who did the repairs. I don't know what it's been through, those sort of things. Well, you do here. Mm-hmm. These are like certified technicians that can, fix whatever's got to be fixed, and you kind of know what to expect. So I think it's kind of something unique too when it comes to that, the damage, and like Paul's talked about the low level of damage that they kind of seek out here. But Lacey, I was going to ask you before we let Jalen go. Let's say that somebody purchased a vehicle here, they've been making payments and they've paid on it for a year. All of a sudden you get a phone call, hey, some 16-year-old in a Nissan Altima ran a stop sign and T-boned me, or something like that. And so now you've got this claim process going on. Can you just kind of take us through what that looks like here at Wholesale Cars, the process of trying to help that customer through that?
Once the customer calls up here and says that they've had an accident in their vehicle, we ask several questions to them, for one, if they're okay. Mm-hmm, that's sure. The main thing. When it happened, where's the vehicle located at? Is it drivable? If they filed an insurance claim, if they haven't, we'll file it for them. Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, we like to handle the insurance claim as well.
Sure.
So that way we make sure that the customer's going to get what they need for the vehicle.
Yeah, well, and you said too that you guys always are pulling comps and making sure that
Yes.
that the hey, this is what you can expect your insurance company to pay out, and if they don't,
We have to fight some insurance
Sure.
companies through litigation. It's never fun, but
that never happens, does it, Jay?
Oh, 100%. That's why I have a job. If everything went well, I'd be out of business.
Yeah, for sure.
Something else, I was just happening to think of this when we were talking about the dumb reasons why things are totaled out. Let's flip that on its head for a second.
Yeah.
Talk about some things that don't get totaled out that people are seemingly perfectly okay with buying a car when this happens, but then there's this stigma with rebuilt titles. So I have a client that this was not a total loss, and he wrapped his truck around a concrete post at a gas station. And when I say wrapped it, I literally mean he hit it on his back door, saw it, kept driving, and his truck literally did one of these that turned it around. And from the front fender all the way down the front driver door, rear driver side door, and then into the bedside. Yellow paint all over it, dented in, like we were talking about. The doors look like take a aluminum can and crush it. Not a total loss because his truck had a certain value on it, and there were no sensors that were affected by it. There were no airbags that were affected by it. Nothing like that. So we Alpha paid him out to have that repair done. And now all that's going to show up on a Carfax is, I don't know how to show, if it'll show minor or major accident or whatever. It's going to show that there was an accident on that Carfax where, that's on that side. A lot of people, it's a clean title.
Yeah.
A lot of people have no issue buying that. Nobody asks, hey, can I insure that? If it's had an accident before, can I insure that? Hey, would you have any hesitation? Nobody asks the same questions, right? But if it's a rebuilt title that a front bumper has been dinged, it hit one of those sensors, and now for whatever reason the insurance company totals out a $30,000 vehicle for a $4,000 repair, everybody and their mama wants to know why, or is hesitant to buy that rebuilt title. There's a lot of times, there are more situations where a vehicle doesn't get a salvage title or a rebuilt title that honestly I wouldn't buy those cars. They're clean titles, but if I saw the damage and saw what was done to it, I wouldn't buy those. And on the flip side of that, there's a lot here that have very minor damage compared to that one, but they get deemed a salvage title for whatever reason from the insurance company, and now there's hesitation around it. So it's kind of funny, the both sides of that coin is there's a lot of vehicles that if people knew the extent of the damage, that vehicle still has a clean title, but on the Carfax it shows a minor accident on that one side. But if you saw the extent of the damage and the pictures that we see, I would buy one of these here before I bought that one.
Right. Oh yeah. And I know that when certain things happen that people deem as minor, you don't want to get insurance involved. It's like, I don't even remember the lady's name, but we were going through downtown Albertville, stopped at a red light. We're just on Main Street. We're just sitting still, and me and my wife, both kids, boom, get out of the car, and this lady just wasn't paying attention, and she just, just rear-ended us. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a whole lot of damage, but it had popped little reflective bar for the lift gate, or for the hatch on the car had been popped up, and we were worried that it may have damaged sensors or the backup camera or something like that. And so anyways, we pull over, police come over there, and she, this lady that hit us gets out of the car and walks over there and goes, well, I don't reckon it did anything. I don't see any damage. I'm like, lady, I'm not trying to, everybody makes mistakes.
Here, borrow these.
Yeah, it's like, I know how this stuff works. Like, everybody makes mistakes and, gets whatever, daydreams or whatever. And so she just hit us, and it's not a big deal. Everybody was fine. But I was like, no, we're going to figure this out. Like, we obviously have some damage, but stuff like that, people are just like, no, we don't want to get insurance involved. How about I just write you a check? And that's kind of scary too, go that route.
From what I've noticed on Carfax, even if an insurance claim is not filed, but there's a police report filed,
Yeah.
it's going to show up on the Carfax.
And so, insurance-wise, what does that do? I mean,
Yeah, so it'll still show up as an accident. It may not show up as a claim, but it's gonna. It gets a little bit unpredictable on what it's going to do to your rates. At the end of the day, if a police report was filed, it's going down as not going down as a claim, but it's going down as an accident. Which the distinction between an accident and a claim, a lot of times there's not very much difference there on an insurance rate. If it's an accident, it's an accident. It's an accident, you know. No. So, and then a lot of times if there's details missing from that accident, so if there's an accident and it was reported by a police report, but there is no claim information on there, then I have to start asking questions of, hey, how bad was the damage? How much did it cost to fix it? Who paid for that damage? Who was deemed responsible? And I have to start asking those questions. So by the time I get done filling in the information, it's looked at the exact same as if it was a claim. So that would be, you know, that going back to personal record, if it shows you have an accident on your record, you're going to have a slightly higher rate than somebody who doesn't. But as far as how it affects the vehicle, it doesn't affect the vehicle at all when it comes to insurance. It just affects you as the driver. So
I got you. That sounds good. Well, Jalen, I think I've interrogated you enough. I don't know if there's anything that you want to touch on that we maybe missed, or anything you want to look back on.
I think anytime somebody buys a used vehicle, there's an inherent risk with that. You buy a new vehicle, you can buy all the factory warranties, all that stuff. You're also going to pay for it. When you buy a new vehicle, you're going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
100%. And so anytime you buy a used vehicle, there's an inherent risk there. For me, I like the fact that, and I just learned this, so this is learning process for me and you through this, but with wholesale cars, you have photos of everything that you sign off on when you buy it. You see exactly what the damages were. I would rather buy a vehicle where I know what happened, I know who fixed it, and I know it was fixed right, and it comes with a warranty, than to buy a used vehicle that might technically be a clean title but not have any of that information.
Yep.
And so for me, if it's the right car, if it's what you've been looking for, and you can get it with a reputable dealership like Wholesale Cars, I think a lot of times in a lot of scenarios when you compare it, it's a better situation than most of the used cars that people are going to buy today.
For sure. Falls off camera. He just walked back in and he said, amen, if y'all couldn't hear that. But yeah, well, Jalen, listen, really appreciate you hanging out with us and taking some time out of your day. If you are local, if you're in Marshall County or surrounding counties, really,
Alabama in
you're
general.
in Alabama in general, give Jalen a shout. He takes a lot of pride, not just in who he represents, but really in how he, like you said, there's people that need someone to fight for them, and Jalen does a great job at that, and just making sure that he's wearing a hat right now. It's kind of his slogan is "Serve, not sell," and so feel like it's his job to serve people, not try to sell them a policy. And so one thing I will say for him, with no hesitation at all, is that Jalen's going to walk you through exactly what your coverage is if you sit down with him, and make sure that you understand it. Like, this is what you currently have, and if you're okay with that, that's fine. But this is what you are covered for. This is what you are not covered for. And if we need to revisit this, we need to, add coverage. If we need to, I know Jalen's even talked about there's some cases where someone could even be like overly injured and be paying for something they don't need. But he's not necessarily going to guarantee you that he can save you money. But most cases, he ends up adding coverage and reducing the price, which is always a good thing. So where are you located at, Jalen's physical location?
You want the address?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
201 East McKinney Avenue in Albertville.
There you go. And if they want to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Honestly, you can call my cell phone. I give everybody my cell phone number because I want to be accessible. So cell phone number is 256-293-2791. If you're too busy for a phone call, just shoot a text.
There you go. Well, Lacey, Jalen, both of you, appreciate you hanging out. And I'm sorry you had to deal with me on this episode. I'm not Paul, and I look better, but I don't sound as good. But we appreciate you guys listening in. Please stay tuned. We've got more episodes coming. And as always, if you need a new vehicle, come check it out, wholesalecars.com. 4050 U.S. Highway 431, 878
5,000.
5000. There it is. We'll see you guys on the next one.